Hi all, this is Skate, and yesterday I was going through my channel, organising basically all my videos into playlists, making it a bit more organised on there. So we now have tank guides organised by nation, and there's a playlist of just premium tank guides. We got a funnies playlist and so on and so forth, but as I was putting all my videos into playlists, I realised I've done my Super Persian video, I've done a T-34 guide, but I haven't done the Lerva. Now I'm sat here thinking, why the hell haven't I done the Lerva? I like this tank. Granted, most people don't, but I like this tank. Then I realised I did a Lerva Greatest Hits. And that's not a guide. Now the vast majority of people have not seen that video. I'll put a link in the description. It's plain stupidity, but obviously a lot of people call this tank a Lowe. It's not a Lowe, it's a Lerva. Now Lerva sounds like lover, which led to us basically trying to put the word Lerva into different songs, which then made me make a stupid video about it. Here is but one short clip, showing just one example.
Mr. Lover, I'm Mr. Lover, girl.
Oh yes, I'm well aware how stupid it is. But I just got new software, so I wanted to try all the different effects on it and, hey, have a laugh in the process. If you want to see the rest of that, there's a link in the video description. On to the more serious side of the Lerva. People... Actually, thousands of people have got this tank in their garage, and you barely see it on the battlefield. And the reason you don't see it on the battlefield is because it's the pinnacle of the Wallet Warrior crap tank. This thing has an awful reputation. Now, that reputation's partly come from World of Tanks as well, the PC variant, where basically you'd have people come straight into the game, look at all these nice pretty tier 8 premium tanks, see the Lerva and go, holy crap, look at the size on that, I'm buying it. And then suck badly in it. And as a result, it picked up a reputation, which carried through to Blitz, and the same thing happened in Blitz. I mean, look at it. It's a fantastic looking tank. It's German, it's massive. It weighs like 92 tons. It's the size of an E100. So when you look at this thing, you expect to be... well, you expect it to be a monster bouncing shots left, right and centre. That is sadly far from the truth. The crew would have been better off slapping liverwurst in front of their faces rather than the frontal armour of this tank. And that is the exact reason so many people have bought this tank, played some games in it, and then slapped it in the back of their garage, well, basically to gather dust. Or there's people who look at this tank and think, it looks like fun, and then won't buy it because of its reputation. The other thing is this tank has had countless buffs over and over again. And yes, I am a fan of weird tanks or unpopular tanks, but this tank doesn't get the credit it deserves. And on the note of credits, holy capola, this thing makes credits. And I mean, like, wow, this thing really makes credits. In my M60 video I did about 2 or maybe 3 days ago, I mentioned that I haven't got my mouse yet, and I decided after that video I'm going to go out and get my mouse. I've taken my Lerva out for a few games, I have bought my mouse, I have fully equipped my mouse now. This thing makes a lot of money. In fact, I'll average around 90k a battle in this. Yes, that is with premium time, but still, that is a lot of wonga. So because this is so overlooked, I don't think there's any or many guides at all for Blitz about this tank. And I decided I want to make one because I like the tank. I'd like to share how I play it and see if it can help anybody get their Lerva out. That sounds so inappropriate. I'd like to see if we can help anyone get their Lerva out of the garage and find some love for the old girl. So the first thing I want to do is compare this tank to the other tanks, or the other tier 8 premium tanks you can pick up in the tech tree. So that's the IS-6, the Super Persian, or T26E4, and the T-34. Now usually I would actually make a point of going out and getting all the figures, writing it down and slapping it up on the screen here, but thanks to Sock Robber, Blitz Stars now has the tank compare, which most people have already seen, but it's brilliant if you haven't. So here it is, and we'll use it to compare these premium tier 8 tech tree tanks. So the first thing you'll note is I have fitted all of them with the same equipment. We've got the rammer, the verts, and the vents. This is actually the same equipment I'll use on my Lurva, so there's your equipment layout. Provisions, we've got food 10%, which is obviously crew skills. Food 3%, obviously 3% to crew skills. And then we've got the fuel provision, which adds 10% to mobility. Again, I've added that to all three of these by here, so we are basically equal playing field in all of them. The first thing you'll note is the DPM of this is 2,331, which is better than the T34s and the IS6s, but it's not as good as the Super Persian, although in all fairness there's like, what, 15 in it? That being said, the AP on this tank is great. It's got 234 mil of penetration. Now that's not as good as the penetration on the T34, but it's better than the good gun on the IS6, and it's considerably better than the Super Persian's AP penetration, which means you are not going to need a lot of APCR in this tank at all. You will also note the shell velocity is miles ahead of the T34 and the Super Persian. Now, it doesn't look to be as good as the IS6, but you've got to bear in mind that IS6 is firing APCR standard. This is firing the AP. Even at a quick glance looking at this weapon handling, you can see that the Lurva has amazing gun handling in comparison to all of the others. Basically, the Lurva is like a damn laser beam. The accuracy is phenomenal. It's got a very good aiming time. You can see the dispersion is very, very low. Even dispersion on the move, 0.18. Now, I know it's a heavy tank, but when you see figures like this, in any gun, it instantly makes you think sniper. Because with all those gun handling statistics, the accuracy, the high penetration, this thing is all about the gun. And that gun can snipe weak spots from miles away. Which you will see in some of the footage I have coming up. I'm literally keeping someone pinned by the track by nearly 400 meters away. So we have established it's got the best gun and a phenomenal gun. What about mobility? Well, it's got the same top speed of 35 as the T34 and the IS6. Super Persian, slightly better as you would expect. It's a medium tank. It is fairly slow to accelerate, I'll say that, but it's not as bad as the T34. The IS6 is slightly better, but IS6 is a Russian tank. What do you expect? Now, the other thing we don't see in garage, and this makes a big difference, that terrain resistance by there. That makes a huge difference to how this tank turns, how it accelerates, and it does make all the difference. So it's very mobile in regards to its traverse, this tank. Especially when you consider it weighs 92 tons. The T34 weighs 65, the IS6 weighs 51, and the Super Persian weighs 50. It is a really heavy tank, which, yes, means you need to ram in it. The other thing about this tank is look at the view range. It's the same as a medium tank, the Super Persian, and is considerably better than the T34 and the IS6. Which would also point out that this tank is designed to snipe. Especially when we then look at the armor figures. Quite clearly there, the Lurva actually has one of the worst armors going. On the front, anyway. The sides are very good. Armor we'll touch on in a lot more detail shortly. Here's the interesting thing. All those stats on paper make the Lurva look like one of the best. Yet, when you look at the average statistics for win rate, damage, it's actually one of the worst. Now this is part due to how many buffs this tank's actually received. Obviously before all the buffs it was really, really bad. And as a result of that, it doesn't get played much. But the reality is this is not a bad tank. What's bad about it, though, is the front hull armor. So you have to play in a way to avoid that front hull armor being shot. So let's have a look at the armor. As you can see, the turret is pretty troll. It's got weak cheeks, but if you shoot that mantlet, it's going to bounce. The hull, the upper plate and the lower plate, anything can pretty much penetrate it. We're shooting at it with the IS3 gun, which has 220 mil of penetration. As you can see, wherever we're looking, very easily penetratable. So you need to do everything you possibly can to avoid being shot in your front plate. You need to angle that front plate as much as you can to avoid it being penetrated as well. There are things you can obviously do to thicken up the armour. Obviously you can't put that much of an aggressive angle on it as we saw there, because your sides would just get penetrated. But you've got 8 degrees of gun depression, and obviously the more of it you use, the more chance you've got of raising the armour thickness, or effective thickness. Now you can see here, firing this with an IS-3 at this angle, you've got a 50-50 chance of penetrating basically. But realistically, you shouldn't be looking at a tank directly forward like this with a lever. You should be angling it like this. You should be looking at it over the side. You basically what you want to be doing, always trying to aim your gun over the tracks. So when you're driving this tank, what you need to be thinking is, I need to shoot over the tracks. Always need to shoot over the tracks. You're not guaranteed to stop anything penetrating, but you're certainly increasing the chances. So you'll see I pretty much always try to align my gun between that light there, which I've just put the marker on, and the inside of the track wheel. As long as your gun is in between there, your side is an auto bounce zone, and it's the most effective front thickness you will get out of that frontal plate. Now that's what you should be doing when the tank is out in the open anyway. Realistically, you should avoid the tank being out in the open at all costs. You need to be side scraping this tank everywhere you possibly can, because that side armour, even at an aggressive angle like this, is ridiculously bouncy. So if you're side scraping, even at a range like that, you're gonna be bouncy, except for that frontal plate. Yes, they could fire at the turret and negate the fact you're hiding your frontal hull, but if you're moving back and forth constantly, you are massively increasing the chance of a bounce off that turret, because as I've already mentioned, that turret is very troll. So side scrape anywhere you can, off everything you can. If you are out in the open, drive at things in a zigzag line, trying to angle constantly. And if you are out in the open, try and hide most of your tank behind something so it's just your turret showing. Then you have a very good chance of bouncing a lot. But it's that frontal plate. All you have to do is prioritize hiding that frontal plate behind something by side scraping. As long as you do that, there is a very high chance of bouncing a lot of shots. Now that we've covered the armor, let's see this beast in action. Oh yeah, its butt's huge. Don't get shot there. Now before this match starts, I've just got to say, when I'm doing a guide, I'll always go out and get fresh footage. I like to make sure that it's fully up to date, it's the most recent I can get. I've got tons of different lurver footage, but I wanted up to date ones. So these games are from last night. Now you'll see I'm on Canyon. Now I don't know what it is with map rotation, but I'm getting Canyon an awful lot. As in, the other day when I did my M60 mastery, it was on Canyon. My lurver game from last night, which is this one. I got my mastery on Canyon. Then this morning, I decided I'm going to go out and get a different mastery on a different map, because, well, showing the same map over could be quite repetitive, I thought. Oh, you guessed it. First match out, I had Canyon again, and I got my mastery. Now, that to me is really annoying, but for some reason whenever we have a new map I cannot for the life of me get on it. Except Canyon, I can't get off it. But rather than go out, make a new video, or sorry, get more footage and get a different mastery, I thought, you know what, I'll use it. I'll use both the footages on Canyon. Now the reason I decided to do it is because A, it proves how strong these sort of positions are and how little they are used, and B, both are completely different replays and both show how to use the tank correctly. So we're going to stick with them, and hopefully you guys can go out and get masteries on Canyon. In all seriousness, you'll notice that that KV4 is just bouncing off me, and each time I'm getting my shots into him. And also we did get some cracking shots underneath the train, and that was another prime example of the laser beam accuracy of this tank. Now I am covering the majority of my hull, but you'll notice the way I'm trying to keep my tank angled regardless. Quite simply because if I do pop up a little bit too much, I know I'm still going to have the most or the maximum effective angle I can. Again, they're a perfect example of the snapshot laser beam ability of this, and just how troll this turret really is. Now this is basically how I try to use this tank constantly. I will constantly be trying to keep it at medium range. You've got some armor as long as you're angling. And if you're close range, which you are going to get close range sometimes, you haven't got a choice. It's Blitz, it's small maps. So if you are going to end up close range, well, you've got your side-scraping ability, which I'm going to try and demonstrate by here now. The other key thing I'd say is if you are going to play long range or medium range, don't sit in the same spot over. You need to keep moving to make sure you are effective during the entire battle. If I sat in that spot back there, I would have just been useless. Now I don't have a choice. I have to break away from that spot and I need to get out and help the team. And that to me is the huge difference between camping and sniping. Sniping is putting yourself into effective positions and playing from long range, or from medium range. Camping is sitting in the same spot regardless of what is going on the map. Now here we've got a perfect example of how good this tank is at side scraping. That's an Object 704 tier 9, and wait for it. I'm going to put my adrenaline on, I'm going to come out, he's going to bounce his shot. And the Leo bounced too as well, actually. Now the Leo in this circumstance would probably be the easier shot. But what I want to do is focus down that Object 704 because he is only one more shot. Again, that one went through. But I'm going to wait for that IS to move and we'll get one into the 704 and finish him off. He's a very dangerous tank and I wanted him out of the game. But you'll notice I've been shot from the right now as well. So I'm angling a little bit more aggressively, trying to turn quickly. And I need to escape this area. In doing so, I get shot in the track. Now that's one thing I haven't mentioned so far, is the tracks are so big on this. They absorb ridiculous amount of shots. And I do mean ridiculous. Which is another prime reason as to why you do want to be angling. Not only does it increase your effective thickness, but it also increases the chances of all those shots being absorbed into your lovely fat tracks. You will now see that we are pretty much going to cap on points, but then we see the T-54 quick snapshot and he's ours. So that's 4 kills for us, and we won on cap as well. Now that is a tier 9 game, and we were taking shots at tier 9, which make a difference to your credits. But we did 3,600 damage, we got ourselves a nice steel wall, and 82,000 credits net. Quite frequently in this tank you can have 2,000 damage on a loss, and still churn out 60k net profits. Like I said, the APCR really isn't that much of a requirement in this tank. Okay, so we are going to be going into another canyon battle. This one is better than the last one though. Now one thing I do want to say as well is, well, what's the point in getting something like a Lerva over the IS-6? Well, the answer is quite simple in all honesty. If you're looking for something to buff your win rate, you want an IS-6. It's got a very inaccurate gun, but it has very troll armor. You play that tank close range, dogfighting. This tank, on the other hand, this is the tank you want if you want to earn a shed load of credits and have a bit of a challenge and a bit of fun doing it. Yes, the frontal armor is very bad on it. The gun, though, is phenomenal, and it's a completely different playstyle to the IS-6, and I think that's why I like it. It's completely different. And however sad it sounds, playing different tanks with completely different playstyles really do help to improve your overall gameplay. This tank is not a brawling tank. It can brawl as long as it can side scrape, so in a one-on-one scenario, maybe one-on-two, as long as they don't push you and you can keep that side scrape going, you'll be fine. If you're in an IS-6, you literally shove your tank in their face, wiggle like mad, get some bounces, and shoot back in their face with the gun. You can't really do that too well in Lerva, so you do have to try with your range. But, as I said, it's a completely different playstyle, it can be a challenge, and it's quite fun. and it is well worth it for that shed load of credits. After all, to me, it's not all about win rate, you gotta have fun. So if you enjoy something which is a challenge to play, or can be a challenge to play, then you want to lurver. That shot there was a prime example, only a tiny gap to get the shot in, and we managed to pull it off. Don't manage the same thing there though, because I wasn't reloaded in time. Now you will notice there's a lurver on the enemy team as well. He didn't play too bad at all. I think he ended on nearly 3,000 damage, which pretty much means he also got very good credits from this. T-44 there doing what I'm going to describe as a suicide run, and I noticed that tank sitting out there, and they're all on my one side now, so you'll see I'm backing over the ridge the other way. There's no point me sitting out on the other side of this ridge when I can back up to protect myself further. IS-8 does manage to get one into me and kill the driver, which, on that note, you will find your driver dies a lot in this tank. It's German, so you do also get set on fire sometimes when you're shot through the front, but I personally find that my driver dies more often than I get set on fire. So you're probably wondering why I don't carry the extra medi kit. Now the reason for that is because more often than not your tracks get knocked off. Tracks get damaged more than anything else because of how big they are, but it also absorbs a lot of damage. So that's why I carry the extra repair kit rather than the extra medi kit. And this is pretty much going to be sniping through the bridge for the next few shots. We missed the first one there, which in all fairness that was a bad shot, there's only a tiny bit of it showing. This one though I believe goes straight into the side of the Type 61. Now at this point in the game the enemy are 2 tanks up, but we are going to bring that back obviously, because we got a mastery out of it. The friendly Waffle also has a very good game, so I think that obviously made a huge contribution to the fact that I got a mastery out of this. As without him being where he was, I think I would have been overrun. Especially as you consider the enemy IS-8 has just killed our STA-1, and the enemy Leopard has just killed our T-32. So that now means it's just me and the Waffle versus 6. I do get 1 into the ISU there, bounce the return shot from the Type 61, and then the Waffle takes out the Type 61. So we pretty much instantly went to 2 versus 5. You're going to see the ISU comes up to say hello to me very quickly. He goes to turn around to get the Waffle, but then I do manage to take him out. And at exactly the same time, the T-54E1 is taken out by the Waffle. Now you'll notice the Waffle now calling for help. I'm concentrating on the lurver, get a shot into him, and I realise that the Waffle is now being flanked by the Leo. And exactly the same time, I am being flanked by an IS-8. So we're kind of in a crap situation here. I angle my armour towards the IS-8 and then realise that's probably not a smart move because the Waffle needs help behind me. So I'm going to back over the ridge and give him a hand with the Leo. So we got 1 into him and the Waffle finished him off. Now it's time to try and deal with the lurver. We know the IS-8 is still in the cap because it was still capping up, but as I say that, he leaves the cap. So I got 2 choices, leave the lurver to the Waffle or go for the IS-8. The IS-8 could go around, get the flank of the Waffle, so that's why I decide I need to take out this IS-8 to allow the Waffle to go take out the lurver without being flanked by the IS-8. Try saying that again. But you forget how quick the IS-8 is, so by the time I come down here to think, ooh, I'll deal with him, he's already gone round the side of this hill. Which means I'm going back up the hill again. And you can see the friendly Waffle is on his way to the lurver now. Now the last time we saw the lurver he was facing my direction, so hopefully the Waffle's going to creep up behind him. And this is where we respot the IS-8 so we know exactly where the IS-8 is. I do flag his attention to the Waffle, but the Waffle is preoccupied with the lurver. So I get 1 into the IS-8, bounce his return shot. God damn, I love the troll turret on this thing. And this is where the IS-8 screws up. He's so busy trying to kill the Waffle, he ignored me, which allowed me to get another shot into him. Now the Waffle has taken out the lurver, but because of that, the IS-8 obviously rushed down and took out the Waffle. However, this is where I said he made a mistake. He was so preoccupied killing that Waffle that he left himself out in the open so I could take 2 shots on him. Which means I can easily take that 1 shot off him and my reload is quicker than his. Even with his adrenaline on. Which means I just got to put 1 APCR into him. He's dead and we win the match. I gotta tell you, being bottom tier in a 2 versus 6 situation, that was intense. One of those games where it's very, very intense at the end. Very enjoyable though. Now I completed a mission during this match, which netted me 40,000 credits. But that means we walked away with 163,000 net, take off the 40, and this tank made 123,000 credits. And during that one, I did 4,465 damage, and our friendly Waffle did 3,501, and the rest of the team all did less than 1,000. So I'd like to think me and the Waffle carried that one home. So, all in all, that is the Lowe. Is it the greatest tier 8 heavy tank? No, it's not. Is it a fun tier 8 heavy tank? Yes, it is. Does it make a shed load of credits? Holy capola, yes. The other thing going for the Lowe is the fact it has that reputation. What that basically means is it is severely underestimated on the battlefield. You'll find people will make mistakes and will come out in the open in front of you because their reaction is, it's a Lowe, I can easily take that out. And everybody forgets just how mobile the traverse is on this tank and how good the DPM is now. Let alone its ability to angle. All in all, if you've got one, I hope you've pulled out some useful information from this video, and I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you haven't got one, and you're tempted, I'm not going to say, yes, go out and get one. It's an amazing tank. Even though I personally love it. I would actually say, if you're looking for another credit earner, and a damn good one at that, have a look at this tank, or the Super Persian or T-34. There is a guide to both those other tanks on the channel, and there is a link in the video description. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.